This podcast is brought to you by Audible.com, and to get your free trial of Audible.com, check out their awesome service. Go to www.audibletrial.com/bonfireside chat for your free Audible trial. Praise the sun.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
And you're listening to Bonfireside Chat, an undead second favorite, the Appendix episode.
Yes.
The last episode.
The Appendix episode that is a companion piece to the previous episode, which talked about Darkroot Garden and the depths.
And unlike some appendixes, this appendix is very useful to you. Duh.
It won't just blow up and poison you.
Yeah, exactly. Duh. I started making that joke and had to commit.
It had to resolve itself of its own momentum.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Fine.
I mean, if it didn't, it would be like one of those things where you like resolve, you know.
Yeah, you're just musical edging. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know why I've been so into playing my keyboard on the thing.
It's fine. It's. I mean, like I know why. I know why you're into it. Like I know why you do it because it's like right there. It's like off to your right. All you have to do is just reach over and like I've got this right there. You know,
it's hard to resist.
It's like
resist. So please accompany us while we edge ourselves to the brink of soundgasm with this Appendix episode.
I would like to begin by again. I was about to say posthumously, but that's wrong. Ex post facto thanking Russ Frushtick from Polygon for
let's
being
hope
on the previous
it's not
episode.
posthumously. It got dark. Like, Russ, are you okay?
This is a tribute. So you can edit that if you want.
I'll see what happens with him. It might have been very astute. I'll feel bad about making that joke if anything happens. I probably won't edit, but we also hope that nothing happens.
Yes, he is a delightful man, and we extend the utmost appreciation for his time.
Yeah, super nice guy.
Yeah.
So we like to start these episodes out with a little something that we call the Tiny Beings errata, which are your corrections. So when we fuck things up, you keep us honest.
You are our safety net. Thank you.
Yep. Do you want to read the first one?
Yeah. So this is regarding any comments we made during the episode where we talked about the Undead Parish and the Lower Undead Burg. So this is a little bit weird. It's kind of like that Mr. Show sketch, we know. Because we're gonna get to the point where we say shit during this that needs to be corrected in further errata.
Yeah. This is just, I mean, it's just for the body, the whole podcast as a body of work.
Yes.
A living annotation.
Yes. So Scott Boogeyman.
Yeah, that is what it looks like it is.
It's probably Bogman. You know what? Yeah. Like you probably got enough of that if that is your name on the playground. So I officially apologize for that thing I just did.
He might have gotten Boogerman as well.
Oh, do you think he grew up at that time? That would make sense if he's my age because Boogerman was a thing.
Grew up at that time. Well, I wasn't specifically thinking of the proper noun Boogerman. I was thinking of his
the Genesis
name,
game
Boogers and Man.
Yeah. Okay, so not the Genesis and SNES game Boogerman.
No. I mean, I'm familiar with said man, but I was thinking that it would just be Booger and Man. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, like some kind of booger creature.
some kind of man made entirely of boogers. Okay.
No, we do not think this guy's made of boogers.
No, because he has he actually has one of the better comments. Live up to his example, people. No, but this was interesting. I actually forwarded this to you.
Yep.
So he says, you can parry the giant statues in Anor Londo and most other giant enemies, but you cannot riposte them. In Japanese, different types of laughter are used as a way of defining a character's archetype. Because there is so little actual dialogue in the game, the writers had to throw in some cliched laughter to help establish the characters to Japanese players. In fact, you can trace the weird verbal tics back to the fact that the game uses the same voice track for the English and Japanese versions.
So there's your answer, Tyler.
Yeah.
That's why everyone's laughing at you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's because if you were Japanese, you'd know what it meant.
Yeah. If you were hip to glorious Nippon. No, that's like a little cultural thing that I didn't know. Like that's something you think about with whenever anybody parodies Street Racer, right? They're like, ha 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 ha. Yes, yes, you will not beat me. Ha ha ha.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
It's an actual thing. So
very interesting. I guess this shows how little I know about this game I decided to dedicate my life to, seemingly. But I didn't even realize that it had the same track in Japanese.
Yeah. If you and I knew that from watching Japanese Let's Plays. Like if you like a lot of the speed runs, like they skip through a lot of the dialogue, obviously, but it's in English.
Yeah. So thanks, Scott. That's very interesting. And then the little bit about parrying the giant statues. I think I said you couldn't parry them.
Yeah.
But you can parry them, but you just cannot riposte them.
Yes. So what's the point?
Yeah, that is true. You can parry like crossbow bolts and shit too.
Yeah.
Parry.
Parry.
Yeah. You can parry some arrows. But there's no real point to doing it.
Yeah.
So Alex Hahn via contact says, just a quick bit for the appendix. For rescuing Griggs, you mentioned that you can use the master key to free him. You actually can't, and you need the residence key from the male undead merchant. Did we say that?
I thought we said
no.
Yeah, I thought so as well. I also thought about going back and listening to see, but
there's only so much time in a day.
Yeah, exactly.
These shits are long, man.
Yeah. So,
I thought we got that right.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I didn't think that we got that wrong, but I mean, I could be wrong. Who knows?
Yeah.
I could be wrong now.
It's something we know, and if we did say it, we said it knowing we were wrong.
Yeah. It's probably the kind of thing I do when I listen back to myself speak on these things where I just flip flop words for no apparent reason, because I'm like a dog and I get excited about saying something and then just start saying it and I'll be like, oh, that's not right. That's not right when I'm editing. And it's just a reference to something else. So it's probably that if I did say it, but I know this. I don't think I said it, but in case I did, we apologize. Thank you, Alex.
Yes. Thank you very much. I also say everything twice, and I take a long time to find the word I'm trying to think of.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So EC via the Something Awful forums. He is the guy on Something Awful for Dark Souls stuff. So thank you for contributing. He says the Capra Demon fight is only bullshit because it's trying to teach you two things that the game does an incredibly poor job of explaining: poise and stability. If you walk in and get hit once with a basic +0 shield, your guard will be broken instantly. I think they were trying to make the player ask the question, how can I improve my shield so that it takes less stamina to block? But basically no one anywhere gets that unless they were dropped hints. I was terrified to upgrade anything for fear of messing something up. Same thing with poise. Of course, someone fat rolling in heavy armor won't have an issue. The dogs won't stagger him, and he'll be able to kill them quickly. As we all know, once the dogs are out of the way, Capra isn't that hard. The big issue is that there is no in-game explanation of either of those things, so you basically have to resort to a wiki or help thread to figure it out. Most people don't do that until they've died 20 to 40 times, so it becomes a bullshit fight in their minds. This is in response to us talking about the Capra Demon fight being bullshit. There was a long discussion about this in the thread, actually. He says, also, I mentioned this elsewhere, but if you are in a light armor int build, the game gives you RL decoy right before this fight. Cast it to the right as you enter, and Capra will go straight for it, leaving you to rush up to the stairs and pick off the dogs. Also, you all forgot to mention that being human in certain places does cause environmental changes in the form of NPC invasions. Only if the boss is alive, of course, but I wouldn't necessarily call that multiplayer. It's the multiplayer surrogate. And
Yeah. So, I mean, that last bit's a little semantic-y. The rest of it, though, so the last bit, I think, is a little semantic-y. I think that, it's, like you say, it's the surrogate for multiplayer. And I think we might have said specifically like NPC interactions weren't affected, But we did. I guess we talked about mechanical interactions because we were talking about the church frying you.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit semantic. The other points you have are right on.
Yeah.
I think that you're right about that poise and stability thing because right before this is when you run into the blacksmith that can increase those things. Mm-hmm. But you have no concept at this point what kind of investment is reasonable. When on playthroughs, later playthroughs, like, advancing something up to +5 is not a big deal at all.
Right.
But I didn't know that the first time I was playing through the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
And I would venture as far as to say that like poise and stability, like I didn't really understand those until much, much later.
Yeah.
So to say that it's trying to teach you those things, yes, it's not teaching them effectively.
Yeah, I think it's right that that's kind of part of the idea, but it's not doing a very good job of it.
Right.
The bit with Oral Decoy, like when I got my sorcerer run through that I just did, I was really excited to play with a lot of these utility spells. But Oral Decoy is really frustrating because you have to manually aim it, and the manual aiming in this game I have a really hard time with.
Yeah.
So like it seems unpredictable which way anything's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
When I do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Jeremy Dawson via Facebook says, an important tip I would like to see mentioned on the show, potentially, is that when you give a message a plus rating, the writer receives a latent humanity. So please be generous with those ratings.
That's a good point. We were talking about the messages, I think, in the one of the earlier episodes, and we said, like, okay, does it benefit you to do it or something like that? It does. It does.
Yeah. I don't think we ever said that. I mean, we knew this. I don't think we ever said it didn't do it, but it is worth mentioning that you should always uprate things.
Yeah.
Like I am a very giving Dark Souls player. Like I want people to do well. I am not a dickhead. I don't do, try jumping. I don't do any of that stuff. So if you can help people out, I'm into it. Yeah. In, Crystal Caves, like 90% of those here messages on the invisible pathways are mine. I always take the time to do that. Just because it's, I want to help people through this really hard game.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this. I always uprate, I did it. So if it's after a boss and someone says I did it, it gets uprated.
Yeah.
So
that's good practice. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then finally, Ryan Mulvanity via Facebook says, I could be completely off base here, but were you guys conflating Dennis Miller and Dennis Leary?
Yes.
Yes, we were.
Yes.
I was going to correct you because at some point in my youth, I liked both of them.
Somebody should correct you then.
I know, right? Well, I stopped.
Dennis Miller. What do you mean in your youth you like Dennis Miller?
It was prior to 9/11, so it was before he stopped being before he started being like a hyper conservative asshole. And like I had been exposed to his rants tapes, and I was a precocious young chap and I liked his vocabulary. I'm not that is my defense. Right.
No, that's fine. I don't actually know those rants tapes. I guess I mostly know him from Weekend Update and the fact that he's become a huge monster.
Yeah, he is a huge monster. Man, something about Millers. Like just like every Miller got affected by 9/11. Dennis Miller, Frank Miller.
Yeah. Well, Frank Miller
he's always been an asshole.
Yeah, he's been a little bit of an asshole the entire time, but his talent took a big shit too.
Yeah.
Like he stopped being able to make good comics as well.
Yeah. Well, he went from the Dark Knight Returns to Holy Terror. So.
Yeah. Even the Dark Knight Strikes Back or whatever that sequel is to the Dark Knight Returns, which is pretty crappy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, 9/11 impacted us all. Cool.
Yes, it did.
Let's discuss on this episode of On Fireside Chat Appendix. We discuss the impact of 9/11.
And then Dennis Leary. It was kind of in the same vein, like where I was kind of like getting into like angry comics. So like Lewis Black and stuff like that. It was all around the same age. This was before I found out about Bill Hicks, who is the eminent sage comic, person. Real great. And Dennis Leary took a lot of his material. So
yeah, unfortunate.
Yeah.
You mentioned Lewis Black. Have I shared with you the James Adomian doing the impersonation of Lewis Black reading like a 16-year-old girl's diary?
No.
It's real good.
Okay.
I will put that in the show notes and also send it to you.
Okay, please do. Yeah,
it's very good. But yeah, thank you. That was definitely just a fuck up. As I mentioned before, like every once in a while, I just say the wrong thing.
It's fine.
I don't know what's going on. I can't explain it.
They're very similar.
It all started at 9/11.
It all started. It was
sorry.
It was a brisk Tuesday morning in September.
Sorry.
My bad. Oh man.
Yes. All right. Well, that's it for our Tiny Beings errata. But again, we encourage you to correct us. Everything we said wrong during that last week's episode. Through any other mediums, please let us know.
That's weird because Rescue Me was all about 9/11 too.
I didn't even think about that. I've never seen Rescue Me.
It's an okay show.
I find Dennis Leary hard to look at.
Yeah, he is. He's like a less talented Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, he's kind of gross. Like there's certain people I just don't like. Yeah. We talked about like Tim Burton, Tim Burton, Harry Knowles. Like there's just certain people I just can't look at.
Oh, Steve
and
Tyler.
Dennis Leary is one of them. Yeah, Steve Tyler. Yeah, yeah. I just can't look at those people.
They all have weird mouths.
Yeah, the mouth is really the soul of the face. Like
the eyes are overrated.
When I worked at the grocery store, I was leaving the break room once, and two break room dudes were walking downstairs, and one of them said to the other, "Dude, she's got a good mouth." And I was like, "Oh, Tiger at Oregon, Fred Meyer employees."
She's got it.
Dude, she's got a good mouth.
I don't know. Yep. So that was that person was an error just like we were.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm gonna rat at that guy. But yeah, so that's it for that segment. And then next on to just your stories of these areas.
Yeah. Gonna start out mostly in the Darkroot and then go into the depths. Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and start us off with Russell Nix, which is an awesome name. It's like from like a Neil Gaiman novel or something like that. And he says, a fun story. I've been a fan of Watch Out for Fireballs for a while, so of course I started listening to Bonfireside Chat. Thank you. Now I don't own Dark Souls, so I mentioned it in passing to my wife, and she slyly said, "Hey, don't buy Dark Souls. Valentine's Day is coming up after all." Tonight, a package came in the mail with that telltale rectangular shape. I jokingly said, "Oh look, maybe it's Dark Souls." She looked me in the eye and said, "I have to be honest, I didn't buy you Dark Souls." Then opened up the Showgirls DVD. A few hours later, using the Amazon link, thank you, I bought Dark Souls. I told my wife, "It's a good thing you didn't buy me Dark Souls, because I just got it for myself." She then shouted, "Russell fucking Nix, I can't surprise you with anything. Thanks for the show, guys. I can't wait to start playing."
More of those, please.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a great story.
Doesn't relate to any of the areas, but I couldn't help including it.
Yeah. Good on your wife. I like that. That is fun. Yeah, that happened to me with, a similar thing happened to me with EVO. I think I told that during the Watch Out for Fireballs EVO story.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, the whole gift thing. Did I, in response to that, did I tell the story about, Sonic 2?
Possibly.
My stepdad picked me up from school, and like for some reason I knew it was the day that Sonic 2 came out, and I was like, "Oh, take me to go get that." And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, the store's all out." And I was like, "Man, that sucks." And I was like, "Well, can we go back?" And then he said, "Oh, well, they're not making anymore." And I was really young. I was kind of like, and so I'm in tears thinking like I've missed my chance, right? And then we get back to the house, and like I'm just like inconsolable, and he's kind of like come up to the spectrum and be like, "Oh God, no!" And then he pulls the game out of the dresser. He's like, "I'm sorry, I tricked you."
You didn't tell me that story because that's hilarious on a lot of levels. Like one, they're not making anymore.
I know.
But two, like, and it's not, I'm not going to tease you too much for, like, you were like, what? Like super young.
I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I'm not going to tease you for crying too much about not getting to play Sonic 2, but it's a really funny image. Like if there was YouTube at that point and he filmed it, you would end up being a YouTube celebrity.
I'd be on Tosh 2.0.
Yeah, you could get insulted by that guy. So, yeah.
Oh man. So yeah. Funny stories. David Langsworthy, another awesome name. You guys got like wicked
David
awesome names.
Langsworthy.
Oh yes.
The Sherbasiah Langsworthys.
Yes. Via the contact form, he says, "Hey goons, I had an unexpected experience with the depths. After dying to the Capra Demon 10 times and almost throwing the controller at the wall, I put the game down for a couple of weeks, and when I came back, I calmly and easily killed it the first time. I actually might not have made it without your tip to use the gold pine resin." Did we say that about the Capra Demon?
Maybe.
It's a demon. It's a
I don't remember.
demon, so it would be effective, yes.
Oh, we'll take credit for it.
Yeah, why not? After getting past the maddening roadblock, I went through the bonfire in the depths, where I summoned somebody for the first time. We then proceeded to steamroll everything in our paths. He led me to the Ring of the Evil Eye and other good pickups. We defeated the NPC invader and killed the gaping dragon, not dying once all the way through. I hastened to add that he didn't carry the whole thing. There was some great teamwork going on. The guy disappeared after the boss fight, but I sent him a message saying, hey, thanks. And he's super nice. And he has been giving me good advice since. Even the basilisks weren't a problem. I know you'll be disappointed if I don't growl about them inarticulately, though. So when I backtracked through the depths later to get to Andre, a basilisk did curse me. And it was only after I found out where to buy the cure from did I realize I'd accidentally attacked the female undead merchant earlier. So I had to make my merry way over to the bell tower. All in all, though, it was a great day of Dark Souls. How do you attack the female undead merchant?
Through the bars.
Can you hit her through the bars?
Yeah. You can kill her. You can kill Rickert. You can kill people who are behind bars.
I didn't think. Okay, so Anastasia is the only one that you can't kill behind the bars. Okay.
Yeah, she's plot invincible, not bar invincible.
Oh.
So yeah.
Can you do it with a melee weapon, or is it just kind of like it seems like Guinevere, where you almost have to choose to do it?
No, you can do it with a melee weapon.
Oh, okay, I'm just wrong. Okay.
Yeah. The going through an area with a sunbro through the area. I only really summon people for bosses, but
yeah.
Once since it's on PC and once people mod the shit out of it, I kind of want to do a co-op run with a buddy and actually go through areas because it sounds like a lot of fun, even though it'll be easy.
Yeah. That's kind of the bummer. I mean, because it's games for Windows Live, can anybody actually mess with the netcode to where you can be like, I want to play with you?
Oh, I don't know. I think if I heard something that if you go in Games for Windows Live, you can set a preference for somebody. Like there's a little ability you can do like, I prefer to play with this person.
Yeah. And
you're more likely to see each other's summon signs. But I read that once and I don't know if it's confirmed.
Right.
So somebody who knows, let me know. But and the few times I tried invading, the people who I invade always have one or two people with them.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess a lot of people are playing where they just go through areas. And I'm not dismissing it. I'm not saying it's a bad way to play the game or anything like that. And I've done it too. I've gotten summoned in the depths and helped people find that shit. And that's really fun. But it's just kind of interesting to me that for some reason that never occurred to me. Like summoning people was always help with boss. Mm-hmm. And that's just the only way it made sense.
Yeah. And like to me, I would be bothered by that because I like how solitary the game is. But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it would be it'd be a different experience for it too. I've considered it too for a couple of the harder areas, where the actual area is kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, yeah.
Like before I unlocked all the I like the Painted World a lot, but before I unlocked all the shortcuts for it, it's really long.
Yeah.
Even though it's a relatively direct path, it's very winding. And, now I know how the weird, sequence break shortcut to unlock that first door right away.
Yeah.
But before I knew how to do that, I considered and I get invaded there all the time.
Yeah.
So considered bringing a bro with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Diesel Weasel, another great name. I don't think that's his real name.
If it is though, good on your parents, Doc.
Yeah. Diesel Weasel. So Diesel Weasel says, the fucking depths, man. It seems so small now since I know where most everything is, and I don't care much for the soul pickups. But the maze-like tunnels and holes in the floor meant my first go-through took about 3 times what it should have. Going over my tracks again and again, running off to cure shitty curse that befalls all newbies at least twice. Then the gaping dragon. I think the first time I actually said holy shit out loud to myself was when that appeared in the cutscene. Because looking at a creature the size of a train, except half of that train consists entirely of teeth, is not an encouraging sight in a game like this one. I hadn't quite caught on to how bosses can have obvious and vulnerability exposing attack patterns, so the first fight or two against him felt like an absurd competition. It didn't help that I was also doing the newbie thing of piling out as much armor as possible, so getting out of the way of his claws, tails, face, etc. was harder. And of course I got caught out by his acid attack when I hadn't brought a repair kit. So that was another journey back to the surface.
Oh. I
I finally beat that guy by way of patience and attrition. Blighttown actually wasn't so bad after that.
Wow.
Blighttown is pretty bad after that. I didn't have quite as bad an experience with this guy.
Yeah.
I thought Blighttown was much worse. But
that boss fight is an endurance competition, right?
yeah.
Like
Okay.
most of the times that I've died to it, it hasn't been like to a bad decision. It's just been that that I've just like run out of Estus, right?
Yeah, or
Like-
run out of patience and made a bad decision.
Yeah,
You know, it's
yeah.
kind of like, I mean, I bring this up a lot in like the Binding of Isaac Let's Plays, where like having high damage, like the less time you spend in an area, the better for you.
Yeah.
Because the less likely you are to make a mistake or fuck something up. And the fact that you have to be in this boss fight for so long, it's very likely you're going to get unlucky at some point.
You get decision fatigue almost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, but I think everybody likes that introduction cutscene. Like on the Watch Out for Fireballs page before this show was even a glimmer in me and Cole's eye, you know, and I was posting on there a lot about my Dark Souls things. I was just like, holy fuck, guys, Gaping Dragon. Like, after I beat him, because it's so epic and awesome and metal looking. Like,
Yeah. I want a Lisa Frank folder of the Gaping Dragon. Alex Hahn via the contact page says, here's a Darkroot story. When I first popped in here, it was after killing the gargoyles, so I was just poking around. I ran through towards the stone giants, fought them and killed a few, got killed by them a couple of times. The few return trips I had, I always noticed some weird movement at my bottom left, but I never knew what it was. I ended up taking a peek and I saw a weird creature. I figured this might be a secret area, so I hopped off, landing with a plunging attack on what appeared to be the offspring of a manta ray and a frog, and discovered the path that leads to the wolf ring. Much to my surprise, that wasn't the intended route, and there were actually a couple of sentient trees. How about that? Keep up the good work, podcast. Great listen. Thank you.
We didn't talk about those trees in the main episode, but I think that's one of the weirdest creatures in this game.
I didn't think it was a creature.
Well, it's totally a creature. You get 121 souls for killing it.
Yeah, I thought that was a bug.
Oh no! They move if you watch them.
Yeah.
They kind of like wriggle. Mm-hmm. They have families. They have wives and families. Cole.
You monster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get that. There was somebody else over email. It didn't really have to do with much of anything, but like he sent me a screen grab of, like it was probably him or somebody else standing above the Capper Demon, arena. And I asked him like, hey, is it possible to get there without a bug? He's like, yeah, you just have to do blah, blah, blah. But the Capper Demon isn't there. So
maybe you have to do it after. Like maybe you have to, it's from, you get there from inside above that doorway.
But it's like the Undead Berg. I'll forward you the email.
I'd be interested in seeing that.
Yeah.
Like that kind of, I put a thing on the Facebook group, that guy who got under the kill box under Sun's Fortress.
Yeah. I was fascinated by that.
Yeah, me too. Like I'm pretty interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, he's looking for that. Like if you watch speedruns of the game, you can skip that whole second half of the game on your way to the end boss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Murph Murphy, via Facebook says, I'm calling out Curse as a legit bad mechanic. Not only is 3,000 a not insignificant cost to cure it at once at a time, but if you can figure out where they sell the cure and have enough HP to get there, nothing in the game so far is hints that dying in a particular way is penalized. Boo Curse. That said, I did enjoy Darkroot Garden. The way the fights gradually add more and more dudes. Okay, you beat 3 plants? How about a giant? How about a giant and 2 plants? Oh yeah, in addition to how BS Curse is, Gaping Dragon is one of the few bosses that is the opposite of phallic in video games, and the first boss in Dark Souls that I beat on the first try.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The opposite of phallic is Yannick.
Yeah, Yannick is a Yannick boss. The first time PvP story. So I got to Happy Sun Guy, and I get the warning, Slap Yo Mama _69 has invaded your world. I'm thinking, man, I'm going to get completely killed. So I spot him up on the bridge ahead, and I guess he must have thought that I'd killed the first dragon, or at least triggered it. And I certainly didn't know anything about it. So I charge ahead. Big old dragon breathes fire on both of us. That's how I got killed / got killed in my first invasion.
Yeah, it's a wash.
Yeah. Win-win.
So that's like a weird question. If you die to somebody else, when somebody invades you, do they still get benefit from that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens if it happens at the same time.
Yeah.
The dragon that fire is linear, so I probably wouldn't happen literally at the same time. So maybe it depends on, which way the dragon was coming from. So I guess it would be, maybe he would, because the Murph would have gotten hit first.
If he was coming from the opposite, I don't know.
That's what. Well, if he hadn't triggered the dragon yet, that's where he comes from.
Yeah,
he comes from Solaire's side. So.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know about that. Yeah, curse. Like, I mean, are we on that side? Do we think, all in all, we didn't talk about that much in the episode as far as whether we think this is a bad mechanic.
I don't know. Like, I've lived with it for so long that I've just come to accept it, like poverty. Like, poverty exists. It sucks, but it's there. You just avoid it, dummy. No, no. I don't like it. I don't like being cursed. I'm happy that they fixed it for when it would stack.
I think like where I think it's bad, and I think Murph is right, is that it breaks the rules.
Yeah.
Like when he says they never hint that there's any conditions that carry over from death, right? Like it breaks the rules.
Yeah.
And that's what, I will give it that. So once you know how to deal with it, it's not too hard to avoid. I mean, I've only been cursed a couple times total, and it's really rare that it happens now. Mm-hmm. But it does break the rules,
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that thinks that it would stick with you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even diegetically break the rules. Like getting petrified, resulting in you coming back to life with half your souls.
Yeah.
Or half your life. I'm not sure exactly how that's supposed to work.
Yeah. Like if I like it, it's because it does increase the anxiety level. It increases the mystery. Like, if I fell into that without knowing about it, it would just be like, oh man, what is happening here? There's something bigger than I understand. Right.
Honestly, I think I like it a little bit better than, because you said it increases the tension. Maybe I like it a little bit better than I like Toxic.
Yeah.
Because at least it's imaginative.
Yeah.
And it brings in that like indirect multiplayer, where Toxic is just like super strong poison.
Yeah.
That just serves like, hey, don't go to Blighttown yet. Is what Toxic is there for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I like it better than Toxic, but both of those, as far as status effects, I'm not super crazy about.
Yep, I agree.
So
yeah, like what he talks about. So you got cursed at the bottom of the Great Hollow too, right?
Yeah, that's the I've gotten cursed there, and I've gotten cursed once with Seath.
Okay.
So
yeah, no, I can see that being a legit frustrating thing. I mean, Russ talked about that in the episode, but
yeah,
especially if you don't have the Lord Vessel yet.
Yeah, and if I had known about the Basilisk, I probably would have gotten cursed down there, because earlier your only exposure to a status effect at this point was bleed and poison, and when those fill up, it doesn't kill you.
Right.
So if I just saw a meter filling up, I would know it was bad, but I would have no idea how bad.
Yeah. Like the first time I got cursed, I mean, I fell for the rat's trap, and I fell in, and curse filled up so fast for me because I was hollow. I didn't have any liquid humanity. Yeah, I just it just was like, whoa, it almost felt like instant death. So I was immediately put on guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Adam Burgess via contact says, the depths was, for me, the part of Dark Souls where I finally started to feel pretty confident in my abilities. A large part of this was probably came because I insisted on taking down Havel and every Black Knight I met before coming down here. But I made it all the way to the Gaping Dragon without dying to the environment once. I did die to the Invader, but I don't think that counts. Anyway, I said I got to the Gaping Dragon without dying. That changed once I reached him. I feel like this boss is kind of cheap, in a way I don't feel about the Capra Demon. For Capra, I had to change my strategy for bosses. I couldn't immediately roll out of the way because the dogs would get me. Instead, I needed to get my shield up and slow the fight down. Sorry, I'm reading real slow. But for the Gaping Dragon, you see, he writes it as GD, so goddamn, for the goddamn Gaping Dragon, my strategy was simple. Wait for him to attack, then get behind him and poke away. Wash, rinse, repeat. But what I had to watch out for was that one inexplicably powerful attack, that charge of his. I remember getting the dragon down to very low health. I was hacking away at its backside when it initiated a charge attack. I was behind it, so I figured I'd be safe. And it swings its butt as it runs. The dragon's butt caught me, boom, dead. 90% full health bar, fully drained. There's really no reason a butt swing would do that much damage, and it was the first instance where I felt the game was being unfair.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
The weird thing about the Gaping Dragon's attack, and I didn't know this until I read a guide, like if you stay to one side of him when you're behind him, so I think it's the left side or the right side. It's either the left side or the right side. He can't hit you with his tail. Because he dresses either right or left.
Yeah. I always just kind of assume that as being, you should back out a little sooner.
Yeah.
Like you can't just keep hitting him. It's all about kind of getting in, landing some hits, and then kiting him into, he's about uptime and downtime.
Yeah.
And he has downtime where he's safe to attack and uptime where he's not.
Yeah.
And if he's not just after a charge, I never attack him. Except like he slams down, I hit him in the face twice, go around the side, hit him once he stops charging. That's it.
Yeah.
That's always what I do.
Well, based on his design, you should know that pulling out is key.
Yeah, I know. And I've been tempted in that trap before when a butt swing does that much damage, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting. And it's in, the contrast with Capra. I will say that like Capra maybe teaches you more, like you're trying something that you always try and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think Gaping Dragon is probably like a pretty poorly designed boss fight.
Yeah.
Other than just the spectacle of it. It's pretty easy. He's very simple. I don't feel like he's cheap in the same way that I think Adam thinks that he's cheap, but I would say uninspired, maybe, from a design standpoint.
Weirdly balanced is really what I would say.
Yeah. Yep. So Vivian says, I've literally never been cursed a single time. I don't even understand how it happens. I'm not sure it would happen if I stood stock still in a basilisk fart. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't exist. with a sophist take on the
sophist or solipsist?
Solipsist. That's what I wanted. What are the sophists?
The sophists, I believe that's Aristotle.
Yeah, they believe a thing too, but I'm the wrong thing. Solipsist. Take on that. You maybe you had humanity when you were first there.
Yeah.
La di da.
Look
Good
at me.
for you.
Look at me. I'm Vivian.
Good for you.
A sophist was a specific kind of teacher in both ancient Greece and in the Roman Empire. Many sophists specialized in using tools of philosophy and rhetoric, though other sophists taught subjects such as music, athletics, and mathematics.
It sounds like Vivian. I was right the first time. I did not have that experience.
Yeah.
But good on you. Even though I do remember after getting through the depths being like, not getting cursed in the depths and being like, this isn't that big a deal, but I had plenty of warning.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't want to like pull out this card. I played it relatively soon after it came out, and I still kind of like knew that was a thing. I don't know if it was as codified as it is now. That just kind of like, that's a thing. There was still a little bit of surprise to it.
You have agency over how much research you do and how much reading you do about the game.
True.
That makes, this is tangential. How fucking fun is it going to be to do this podcast when Dark Souls 2 comes out?
It's gonna
and we're at the same, everyone is at the same level.
Yeah.
And like, we're scouring wiki for new information on areas we're just in, and just like the show is going to devolve into like be you and a guest be like, holy shit! Like, did you know that you could? Like, it's going to feel like the thing I loved about playing Demon Souls after Dark Souls was like I wanted to feel in danger again, the same way I did with Dark Souls, and it's going to be like that. And then the podcast is going to be in danger. Like it's going to feel like doing the podcast is going to feel like playing the game because we're going to be on uneasy footing.
Yep.
Which is such a unique kind of fun. Like, God, is that going to be great?
I'm scared of new things.
No, it is going to be wonderful.
No, it's great.
Strap in.
I'm really looking
Kole Ross. Strap in, bitch.
I'm sorry.
For Dark Souls 2.
Where's my sunglasses?
Yeah.
Sam Anderson via Facebook says, curse only happened to me once, and that was from Seath. And given that, it actually felt kind of underutilized. And when it was used, it was used to pretty poor effect. I could teleport to a healer at that point. Could you? After that, I thought you couldn't teleport away from the tower.
Yeah, you can teleport away from. You can teleport away from the second bonfire in the Duke's Archives.
Oh yeah, I'm just thinking.
You can't
about
teleport away from
the
jail cell.
Yeah, that's disconnected. Okay, cool.
Yep.
He says, I haven't played much Demon's Souls, but knowing how its core health mechanic works makes me think that somebody at Dark Souls, maybe somebody higher up, had the idea to bring this mechanic over to the newer game, and for some reason they just decided to put it in at the last minute.
Yeah, I mean it's I think he's talking about the soul form.
Yeah.
Mechanic in Demon Souls. There's nothing quite like curse in Demon Souls.
Yeah.
And the soul form thing ends up, I was surprised how much of a not big deal that was. Like it became, when you play, and we'll talk about it at length, but when you play Demon Souls, becoming human is a buff. Like you don't start thinking of being in soul form as a debuff.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how I played it. Like if I needed double hit points for a boss, I would become human.
Okay.
You know, and I just kind of treated my HP as what it was when I was in soul form.
Yeah. So like most of my anxiety about Demon Souls comes from that. Just kind of like, wait a minute. So I have to beat these bosses with half health, but in reality, it's just I have to beat these bosses with my actual health with the possibility of getting to them with double health.
Yep.
Yeah.
Start thinking of it that way, and it will make it less stressful. And you get a ring incredibly early on that can give you 75% health.
Oh, nice.
At that, so that's a huge. Think of that 150% of your health. It's like a huge buff.
Right.
There's a lot of ways in which Demon Souls is pretty kind to that. Which you should really start playing again if we're gonna
do that thing. Yeah.
Yeah. If we're gonna speak with any kind of authority on it.
Right.
But I know, you play other games. You play games that actually come out. So, I understand you have a busy schedule. It's not just Binding of Isaac and Dark Souls for you. So, but yeah, it's interesting the idea that curse being like why Seath can curse. And we can talk about it then, but that mechanic seems a lot of place and weird.
I think that like it has to do with the crystallization and things like that, and like thinking about it in terms of story. Like this is my
hey,
yeah.
Is that why there's a channeler in the sewer?
Oh, he's down there
researching curse,
possibly.
There
we go.
Hold on my ass.
And his curse is breath, right? Like that's his attack, and that's what Logan gets you. That's how the basilisks curse you.
Yeah, maybe that's how Seath is learning about that shit.
Yeah. So like I would see that. So it turns you into a statue. So it probably takes away and captures some kind of essence of you. As is like indicated by his crystal having the essence of immortality. And so like if anything to do with the crystals. And crystal healing and Zoroastrianism. No, like just has to do with that. So I could imagine that being the parallel.
Yeah, I guess I can see that.
Yeah.
Man, we are explaining every channeler in the game. We're on a quest.
Like when they poke up, like once you know that they're associated with him, you can't help but think like, why? Everything else is so deliberate that like you search for a reason, even when it might not be there.
I realized that during these areas and doing the podcast that like out of the principal players you're introduced to in the beginning of the game, Seath is the most active by a country mile.
Yeah.
Like everyone is in decline, in some way, shape, or form, except for Seath.
Right.
Which is, I guess not Beta Chaos is not really in decline.
Right.
But, Seath is such such an active agent in this world. So much of this, really has to do with him. And then like the entirety of the DLC. Mm-hmm. He's Seath is he's like in a weird way, kind of the principal antagonist.
Yeah.
Of the game. I think you can make that argument really easily. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What an asshole.
Here's a weird thing. So they dropped the Eye of Death, but that's associated with Nito.
Yeah. That's interesting too. Like Nito wants them shits. They're Pokemon Pogs for him.
Pokepogs.
But Nito, we'll talk about this at length on that episode, but like Nito doesn't have very much, like his story and all of the stuff with him is like really underexplained.
Yeah.
Because like you never learn who Pinwheel is, other than that he's a necromancer, but why does he have this power to rob from Nito when he's clearly so weak? Where did he come from? What are his motivations?
Yeah.
What is he doing over that altar in that, awesome flooded library? Like there's no, they don't explain, Nito very much.
Right.
And he's also the only boss in the game that's a Covenant leader. It's weird. Like that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I don't know what
about his relationship to the Painted World, right?
No.
He was originally supposed to be the boss of Painted World.
Oh, hey.
Before they dummied it out.
They could have had maybe Seath put him there to get rid of death, so he'd be immortal.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, very interesting. What do you guys think if you're listening to this, to our wild lore speculation shit? If you know something that directly contradicts this, please let us know.
Yeah.
Megan Duvall via Facebook says, I totally fell down that hole and was extremely confused and overwhelmed for a few seconds. Then I was dead and cursed. I absolutely insisted on going back down, getting my bloodstain, and avenging my death. It was a good time. Yep.
Yeah, that's something. That's sunk cost fallacy right there.
Well, you get like there are times where I get stuck on matters of principle in this game. Like if something feels like particularly cheap or like, I mean, actually more likely when something's like 100% my fault, I will be like, I'm going to get my shit back. Like that is going to atone myself for being an idiot. Not that you were being an idiot for falling down there, Megan, but yeah.
I need to quote a very wise man. If you ever drop your keys into a river of molten lava, let them go because, man, they're gone. Jack.
Unless it's Resident Evil 6 or Resident Evil 5.
Then you can just
in which case it's no big deal. Yeah, might as well just grab them.
Why not?
Like, yeah. You're in stars, man. You're immune to lava. You're all wearing charred orange rings on stars.
It's part of your training.
Yeah.
And finally, Jeremy Greer via Facebook says, I'm another person that totally skipped being cursed. It happened for the first time recently during the first fight with Seath, where I learned that a ring of sacrifice won't save your souls or humanity if you die from a curse. Just the rare ring. So irritating. Should we talk about that? The rings of sacrifice?
At some point we will.
Okay.
I was hoping that there'd be a good place for them. We've already found one because there's one under the bridge.
Yeah.
There. But yeah, that's an interesting idea. One of the interesting things is that used to be a spell in Demon Souls.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, it's a cleric spell or a faith spell. Mm-hmm. A miracle is what they call them.
Yes.
A miracle did that. And it's, I mean, more or less, like you didn't respawn at the bonfire with all your stuff, but you'd come back to life if you died.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, well, I mean, we'll talk about those eventually. Maybe before we fight Seath.
Okay. As for the depths, Jeremy continues, I bragged in the essay thread about killing my first invader only to be very embarrassed later. Just FYI, someone else did this last night, so it's still very common. I stayed lost at the bottom for hours before finding the shortcut. What a maze. So I think he killed Kirk and was really proud. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Yep. I just recently learned that if you buy stuff from Domhnall, he'll totally drop serious wisdom on you. He explains about needing a divine weapon to kill the skeletons in the catacombs very clearly, and breaks down how to kill the ghosts in New Londo as well. I spent a lot of time sunburrowing in the depths and learned quite a few important things. Always bring a bow and snipe the channeler if the host didn't kill him. There's a 10% chance that Solaire might spend the entire fight looking for a fog door. And the end of the gaping arena is a giant hole. Mm-hmm. Appropriately enough. Yep. So yeah. That's I forget. Did we talk about Domhnall's pro tips?
No, I didn't know that they were a thing.
Yeah. He's one of the few people who like straight shoot with you about that kind of stuff. Like he tells you very useful information.
I had no idea. I never really bought his stuff. There weren't very many boss armors I was that interested in any of my playthroughs. They tend to be heavier than I want.
I learned it because he's one of the few merchants who will sell gold pine resin, and that actually works real well in the Gaping Dragon.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like the only, limitless source of that other than
no, there's only 3. There's only 3 of them there.
But I mean other than farming them from mushroom people.
Oh yeah.
So it's like one of the only ways you can or not limited. It's one of the only sources of it rather.
Yeah. Yep. Domhnall's a cool guy. I felt real bad when I had to kill him.
You didn't have to kill him.
Gary.
Why'd you have to kill Domhnall?
What's that?
Why'd you have to kill Domhnall?
Getting ready for New Game Plus.
You don't. What do you get for killing Domhnall?
Humanity? I don't know.
1,000 souls? That's not worth it.
I know.
Yeah. I just killed the fair lady before that.
The fair lady. What?
The fair lady.
Is that her name? Oh gosh. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. What are you talking? Are you okay?
What are you talking about? The fair lady. I always consider. I think of her as the daughter of chaos, but I guess all of them are the daughter of chaos. I guess she doesn't have a name. I errantly refer to her as Quilana, but Quilana is a different person.
Yeah, Quilana's the pyromancy trainer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite messages in the game I ever found is under the fair lady. Where somebody just put an orange soapstone thing that said monster, and you can only see it after you kill her.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And I said it before, but like as far as like siding on a lore thing, like I like a lot of the lore videos. I like Epic Name Bros stuff, but those Prepare to Cry videos, like, that's some of my favorite YouTubery that's ever been done. So
it's fantastic. That dude does good stuff. We'll probably put that in the show notes.
Yep, absolutely. And the one on the Sisters of Chaos is so good.
Yep.
So good. I didn't know that about Domhnall. I did not have that experience with that invader. I did not think he was an NPC. Probably because of the name. Like you said, he's not Bong Ripper, Pussy Storm, dickhole.69.xbox expletive.
SSJ Sephiroth 420.
Yeah, that's Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan Sephiroth or anything. So.
So thank you so much for all these responses. I'm incredibly heartened by how participatory you all are. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, keep it up. Like definitely participate in the next episode, which we will be. There's still time when you're hearing this.
Yeah.
To tell us your Blighttown stories.
And we know you got them.
Yeah, man. Did you did your car break down in Blighttown one time and it became like nothing but trouble? That terrible movie.
Nothing but trouble.
A penis nose judge just abusing you. Like
Dan Aykroyd, what happened? He was never the greatest, Shakes, but
yeah, he really went off the deep end. Yeah.
Sorry. God.
Really quay-legged it. As we talked about in the main episode, Kole has never actually played through Blighttown. So that's going to be a very fun episode. My friend Nick is going to be on it, so he's not from another podcast, but he's done some stuff with me on Dead Idea Valhalla, and is a funny dude.
Yeah,
and looking forward to that.
Me too.
Yeah. So do we have anything wrapping up?
Nope. Other than rating or reviewing, if you would like to support the show, you can do the Audible link, or you can go to Duckfeed.tv/tipjar. Use that link to go to Amazon, and whatever you buy, we get a little kickback from that, and it helps us out. So.
Yep. And I'll throw this in real quick just because I only announced last time. I won't mention every episode, but I started a Let's Play of Dark Souls. Comes out the same time this comes out. Go to www.youtube.com/watchout for fireballs, and watch me play through as an archer, and all that entails. So, I'm hoping to get some traction with that. And then also hoping that it's not excruciating, because I'm so far so good and everything seems fine. I'm hoping it's not quite as easy as the sorcery playthrough turned out to be. My thinking is when I'm not doing like 1,300 damage with an arrow. So,
oh man, I don't envy you that. As the archery just doesn't work well for me, but
it's interesting so far.
Yeah.
The compound bow makes a big difference because it has low range, but you knock it so quickly.
Oh yeah,
that you can kind of use it in melee. But shields are the biggest problem I've had so far. Like every time someone pulls out a shield, I more or less have to get out my sword.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
yeah.
You can look forward to all of that here on the Dark Souls tip. But in the meantime, we would ask you to, even though you can't see it from the depths, praise the sun.
Praise the sun. Okay.
Do you just look at a picture of me while you're recording?
Yep.
Okay.
No, that's not true. It's a framed picture. It exists in real life. It's of you sleeping on my couch.
Oh man.
With a little picture-in-picture of a shower.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just take that whole bit. So poor man-eater Mildred.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that maybe that was a reference to, maybe there are some, because there's an enemy called Man-Eater in Demon Souls.
Yeah.
As well, which
is
the
boss?
hardest. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is, like, mechanically is more like the gargoyles. But, there might be some similarity there too.
Yeah, I thought it was a reference to Hall and Oates.
Yeah. Hall/Oates.
Oh, here she comes. Yeah.
Yeah. She's a man-eater.
I've seen Hall and Oates live.
You haven't.
Yes, I have. Why would I lie about that?
What context? Prove it.
When I was living in Brooklyn, that one summer, they were having this the summer concert series, where it was like free concerts at Coney Island on like Thursday nights, like every Thursday night of August. So I went to one. It was like a Woodstock reunion show. So they had Creedence Clearwater Revisited, Mountain, and John Sebastian. Which I don't, they're all okay. I was mainly there to see Creedence. I was the youngest person there of his own volition by far.
I would go see. Yeah, that'd be a thing I would go do.
The Creedence guys, they're super nice. The Beach
Yeah.
Boys kind of dicks.
Oh, sure. Like, especially Mike Love. Right?
Well, yeah.
Classic dick.
Yeah, I say this from personal experience. My grandparents, they used to do catering at the Delaware Fairgrounds, which is a little ways out of there, and I got to meet both of them when I was like super young. And the Beach Boys were like, you know, just kind of like, hey, I'd like to meet you. I like your songs. You know, like not thinking of like Pet Sounds, but thinking of, you know, Good Vibrations or something, right? It's kind of like, oh, I know who they are. And like, it's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. And they were real demanding. Whereas, the Creedence guys, they asked me like, what's that Game Boy you have there? I was like, oh, it has Pokemon in it. Like, oh, Pokemon. I like Tetris. Tetris is great. Oh. Awesome. So
yeah. I would go as far as to say that, like, maybe not all of the Beach Boys, but the Brian Wilson, if any, like, it's never fine to have like a chip on your shoulder as an artist, you know, but it has a greater claim to being able to do so than anyone in Creedence. Like, if that were, you know, if that were at all justifiable ever. I mean, you know, Brian Wilson, I don't know, that's a thing.
Yeah, like he pulled a Syd Barrett though, right?
Yeah. That's unfortunate. He's legitimately crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, which is part of what's going on with that probably. Like he's a fucking nut bar.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I have a lot of respect for that man.
Yeah.
As a way of writing songs that I can't wrap my head around.
But the next week, my parents came down and they asked like, "What says that how was the concert?" It's like, "Oh, it was great. Who's up next?" Hall and Oates. Like, okay, that's our plan. It's like, so I got to watch Hall and Oates perform in 2009.
Yeah, like a good year for Oates, a bad year for Hall. Yeah, I would go watch that shit. Yeah. I have two of my good friends, my game night buddies. Like they're real weirdos in that like they don't seem to like music. Like they like music, but I don't think they own any CDs. That's just not a thing that they do. But we go out and do karaoke every once in a while, and they just sing Hall & Oates songs. Yeah, and they know Hall & Oates songs I don't know. It's really interesting.
like deep cuts. They're going to the Hall & Oates boneyard.
They're singles, but they're single like less popular singles.
Right.
You know, and it's just kind of interesting. You know, just to like they don't seem to like music that much, other than Hall & Oates.
I mean, is that like a function of what their parents listen to? Just kind of like, oh, I know this song.
I don't know what's a function of. I never really brought it up with them. I could. I'd be like, what's up with you guys in music? But I was just kind of didn't. It's just weird. Like it's a group of friends who like music, but it's not something that's a common bonding.
Right.
You know,
because like I think about for me, like, oh dear God, it's a miracle that I don't like country. But I remember being in my mom's car, like driving me to school, and she was playing like Billy Ray Cyrus. I think that's why I don't like country.
Yeah. I have a similar experience with Garth Brooks and my mother. So.
But I remember like driving to South Carolina with my dad, and the only cassette we had was the Forrest Gump soundtrack, which is pretty good in terms of like, okay, now that's what I call music for the 60s and 70s, right? You know, but I was kind of like, yeah, these I dig these, you know.
There's gonna be some Vietnam music.
Yeah. Like that was my first exposure to Neil Young, like through For What It's Worth, you know. So I'm like, yeah.
Probably some Strawberry Alarm Clock.
Yeah, I think I think White Rabbit was on there, which was real weird.
Nothing wrong with 60s psychedelia.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good stuff. I still have some of that. I kind of want to see what Forrest Gump soundtrack. I want to see what was on that because I can probably like pick out a couple of my like karaoke songs on there. Oh man.
I don't know if it's reached your corner of the internet yet, but have you listened to this guy or heard about this guy who collects White albums?
Like the Beatles White albums? Okay.
He just wants copies of it. He just collects them, and he's got it like the covers as an art exhibit, which is really amazing because everyone is a little bit different. Yeah, you know, it's really interesting. But he just released the first side of it. It's 100 copies of it playing at once in sync.
Holy shit!
On record, it's incredible.
How do you accomplish that?
100 record players.
Well, yeah, but like 100 people who can just time it exactly.
He probably did it digitally. He probably just played them all and then sync them up with something.
Okay.
But it's awesome. Like it's recommended listening as somebody who's interested in audio. Because it starts off with just like a distorted version of the album. But as you know, things like minor things like the record players like playing at slightly different speeds, the record's getting increasingly damaged. It becomes more and more abstract.
Oh wow!
In like a very subtle way. Like there's never just a shift where I'm like, okay, this is where it's weird. But it just like overtakes you slowly to where it just becomes this distorted psychedelic thing that only kind of resembles the songs.
Right.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And like that gets back to like Revolution number 9. So that by the time it gets to that, it's probably just fucked. Right.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't done the second side yet.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So it ends with While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which is crazy. Like it's a sounds like the fucking weirdest. Like it becomes almost like a different, like it sounds like an entirely different song. Like very, very cool.
That's crazy. Wow. Yeah, man, the White Album. I'm not terribly fond of it.
I'm not a Beatles guy.
Oh.
I think we talked about that. I'm kind of on the records of liking the Kinks more than I like the Beatles.
Yeah, you've talked about that on Dead Idea Valhalla. I'll admit that like I had some disdain for the Beatles until I played the Beatles Rock Band, which is real weird. But I think it was actually learning to like Paul's bass. That kind of like got me into it. It's kind of like, oh, that's actually real cool. I think that like my primary exposure to the Beatles was like, through Paul written songs, which I don't generally care for. Like look at, Birthday or look at, oh gosh, what's when you just like some of the other ones? Penny
Lane.
Yeah. Penny Lane or Maxwell Silver Hammer or something like that.
Yeah.
Like all of these really like goofy, things like that. Whereas if you look at something like Revolver, or Rubber Soul, like the stuff that happens on there is mostly George and John. And those are kind of the deeper cuts that I got exposure to through that game. Right. And so after that, I picked up a bunch of the remasters and, Rubber Soul and Revolver. I really like those albums a lot.
Yeah. Revolver is my favorite Beatles album.
Yeah.
I kind of like, I don't really like the beginning or ending of their career very much. Like I kind of disdained them in high school because I thought I'd only heard like the I Want to Hold Your Hand stuff, which I've gained like a middling appreciation for that kind of pop.
Yeah.
But and then I heard a lot of the later stuff, like so I don't really like Abbey Road very much.
Yeah.
That's not really for me. But that mid period, kind of like Revolver through like Magical Mystery Tour.
Yeah.
I think is really, really good.
It was like after they stopped touring, but before they kind of really got up their ass a little bit.
Yeah. I'm saying I think it's really good. It's not like I don't think the rest of the stuff is good.
Yeah. Like
of course it's good.
Yeah.
It's just whether it, connects with me or not.
Yeah. No, I like they peaked when they were like putting out like, Paperback Writer as a single, Something like that. Like not even just a part of any album. It's just kind of like, let's just put this out as like a thing,
Yeah. Yep. Those are good. Saying they peaked, that's dangerous territory. Like like the Beatles, I try not to be, make any objective statements about the Beatles.
Yeah.
But they, that is, when I think that they're probably at their best.
Yeah.
For me, as far as connection to Gary.
What I will say, the White Album, I am comfortable saying that it is one of the weaker just because, it has, 40 goddamn tracks on it. Not all of them are going to be good. It does give us, Back in the USSR, Dear Prudence, Blackbird, which is one of the few McCartney songs I really like. But it also has Birthday, Rocky Raccoon, Piggies.
Yeah. It's got, what is it? My favorite song on that, Happiness is a Warm Gun.
Yes.
Which is maybe my favorite Beatles song for not being on my favorite album. I think that song's great.
Yeah.
Talking about the Beatles being good is not, there's no way to do it. Like talking about the Beatles being good is boring. Talking about being bad is like you're baiting controversy for, so it's either way. There's no way to win talking about the Beatles.
Nope.
So.
Beatles Rock Band was sure good.
Yeah, that was tons of fun. That's what a great expression of like a single, it was the best like genre of those Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
Rock Band kind of knockoff things or side things.
Yeah. I'm just really sad that it came out before the keyboard was a thing.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon